Tampon Timmy Walz is a spy and asset for communist China. Let's jump into the video.
Warning colleagues that Governor Tim Walz's vice presidential nomination feeds into China's efforts to influence Washington, D.C.
This is really concerning. Brooke Singman was the first.
The face of a spineless, coward, weasel communist. All communists look the same. They're all weasels and cowards to their core.
To report on the story, she is here with the details. Brooke.
Good morning, you guys. Yeah, so House Republicans are intensifying their efforts to investigate the Democrat vice presidential nominee and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's alleged ties to China. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer releasing a portion of DHS internal communications it received from a whistleblower discussing China's alleged activities with Walz. The message was sent by a DHS employee to colleagues on Microsoft.
I love all the people in the background cheering for a communist, right? Cheering for a man, a pedo, that put tampons in a little boy's bathrooms, and his wife comes out and says that's to make them read better. This is who Democrats are voting for. It's pathetic.
Teams saying, quote, Walz got the VP. You have no idea how this feeds into what the PRC, or the People's Republic of China, has been doing here with him and local government. It's seriously a line of the intel targets someone who is perceived they can get to D.C. Now, Comer, in a letter to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, says, quote, the committee's releasing the above message as an example of the communications within DHS's possession in which DHS officials express concern about the CCP targeting politicians and their influence operations at the state and local levels. Comer says specifically their concerns about China's influence operations as they relate to Governor Walz. Now, last month, Comer subpoenaed
For all of you that don't know, Alejandro Mayorkas, Joe Biden put Kamala Harris as the border czar. Her right-hand man is Alejandro Mayorkas. She's never at the border. So this piece of garbage allowed an invasion. He should be locked up and sent to Gitmo for the rest of his life. Gitmo.
Mayorkas for records relating to those alleged connections after the whistleblower notified him of those messages. Comer is now accusing the Department of Homeland Security of stonewalling the subpoena. He says, quote, DHS did not produce responsive documents before the subpoena's due date and subsequently neglected to produce a single responsive document. The House Oversight and Accountability.
Hold on a minute. Whenever Republicans don't answer subpoenas, they go to jail. Steve Bannon, all of Trump's associates that ignored subpoenas went to jail. Hunter Biden ignores one. Mayorkas ignores one. The idiot from New York City, Alvin Bragg, ignores one. Nothing happens if you're a Democrat and ignore a subpoena. You could do whatever you want, but if you're a Republican, you're going to jail.
Committee says Walz has traveled to China an estimated 30 times. And in the 1990s, Walz organized a trip to China for his high school students, a trip which was reportedly paid for by the Chinese government. Guys.
All right, Brooke Simon live for us. Brooke,
you know why he brought 30 students to China? Because it was probably a class that he created for politics and leaders. He brought them to China, the students, to be influenced by a bunch of commies. Because he's a pathetic pile of you-know-what. You can just look at him and you know he's absolutely pathetic and stands for absolutely nothing. He's been caught in a million lies. Oh, he served in the military. Tim Walz never served in the military. He was a football coach. Then you find out he was never a football coach. There isn't one thing. He's seen combat in wars, only to find out he's never seen combat. All he does is lie, just like Kamala Harris. He's pathetic.
thank you so much. Let's bring in former State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus. Morgan, good morning to you. So Brooke just laid it out. Apparently around the time that Kamala Harris selected Tim Walz to be her running mate, a group of DHS officials were talking online, and one of them said, Walz got the VP. You all have no idea how this feeds into the PRC, into what the PRC has been doing here with him and local government. So why do you think this DHS official would feel that way?
Well, I started warning about this as soon as we found out that the vice president was considering Kamala Harris was considering the Governor Walz, as her nominee for VP, and I warned about it because I thought it was very dangerous and follows a pattern of what the Chinese Communist Party likes to do to local, to state, and to governors, to mayors. In fact, Secretary Mike Pompeo warned about this to a speech, a bipartisan speech of Republican and Democrat governors in February of 22. And he warned that this is what the Chinese government tries to do. The Communist Party tries to use soft power means to cultivate people over time to get them. I mean, quite frankly, it's relationship building for them in a way, right? By having so many trips, especially paid trips, they're trying to whitewash things that the Chinese Communist Party is doing. Things like stealing our intellectual property, like unleashing COVID on the world.
You remember Joe Biden? Oh, the CCP, they're really good people. As him and Hunter sell the entire country out to China, let them buy up all the farmland, let them buy up all the land around military bases, let them fly spy balloons across America for weeks at a time before shutting it down. Joe Biden and the whole Democratic crime machine should be in Gitmo.
World, like sending the chemical precursors of fentanyl to this country that is the #1 killer of young people. And of course, we can't forget the ongoing.
Let's not forget TikTok. You know, I'm on TikTok and I see that. First of all, TikTok is like pedo heaven. It's like they're everywhere, and then it's so pathetic. The word pathetic doesn't even do TikTok justice for the majority of people that are on there. Just lazy, non-contributing citizens just on TikTok all day long. And there's millions of people on it.
And aside.
And you do know that that's China's app. I wonder why they want this app in America, but ban it in their own country.
In China, in Xinjiang. And so the Chinese Communist Party tries to offer investments, money to state and local officials to soften them up so that you don't criticize them for the harsh actions of their government.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Tim Walz, of course, out on the campaign trail, and he's the one he's saying that Donald Trump is the one who has friendly relations with China. Listen to this.
Instead of doing what Donald Trump is, cozying up to these dictators, cozying up to China, we'll never let other countries like China undermine these investments with unfair trade deals. Look, that's a plan, not a concept of a plan, and I'm damn proud of it.
And that comment.
Now, he's damn proud to be a communist piece of garbage. Just like Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Kamala Harris, they're all communists.
Morgan, particularly notable because Donald Trump is the one that's proposing a 60% tariff on all Chinese imports, which is something that Kamala Harris criticized in her speech last night. But overall, what do you think about that coming from Tim Walz?
Well, we have had zero trade deals from the Biden-Harris administration, zero efforts to hold China accountable. So, when you look at the Trump administration, for all the talk about trade, we negotiated a trade deal with China. We renegotiated NAFTA and turned it into USMCA, renegotiated trade deals with Japan, with Korea. Guess how much the Biden-Harris administration has to show for? Zero. Yeah. They put zero trade deals before the Senate. And in fact, it's Governor Tim Walz who accepts free trips to China. So spare me the criticism from somebody who takes free goods.
Can you imagine Trump accepting any freebies from China, what Democrats would be saying and doing, and what the liberal news stations would do? But it's okay for Tampon Timmy. Hey, Tampon Tim, head over to China, get 50 million tampons so you can bring them back to America. Your greatest gift to America, putting tampons in little boys' bathrooms. You're such a legend in your own mind.
Goodies from China versus President Trump, who has a record of being tough on China with trade and actually negotiating with the Chinese Communist Party. The only thing that the Biden-Harris administration has done is allowed fentanyl precursors from China to flow into this country to kill young people, and they've basically done nothing about it.
Okay, so obviously coming up on a presidential election in T-minus 6 days now. So it's time to look back at the past 4 years, which is something that your organization did, and discover the fiscal impact of the Biden administration's national security failures. And you say that it cost taxpayers $381 billion, which amounts to about $3,000 per household in taxpayer dollars. How do you explain that?
This is the most conservative estimate possible that we could do. I think it's probably likely more. But what we tried to do was to look at the cost of deterrence failures. So what that means is, what does it cost America whenever we fail to prevent the Taliban, for example, from taking over Kabul? When we fail to prevent Putin from invading Ukraine? When we fail things like Hamas attacking Israel and killing Americans and holding Americans hostage on October 7th? There's an actual cost to every single American household. Again, this is the most conservative estimate possible, but that's $3,000 worth of milk, worth of eggs, worth of bacon that American households could have used at a time of the highest inflation in 40 years at the grocery store. But instead, they're using it to cover Biden and Harris's deterrence failures around the world. So you could go to polaris-us.org and see that full report.
And I encourage everybody to do that. And you say that you have to learn from these crises to prevent an imminent deterrence crisis in Taiwan, which is very important when we're looking forward over the next 4 years. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. We appreciate your insight as always.
So there you have it. Tampon Timmy is a Chinese spy